when successful entrepreneurs tell us how they succeeded in business, they tend to leave out some important details. And this is natural, it's just a part of good storytelling, but it's important to know some details about how entrepreneurs usually succeed. So when you hear some success story, it's usually I started with this idea, I created the business, here's how we raised money, here are obstacles we went through, and so on. And that's great. And there's some great books like that. There's some great stories you can hear from entrepreneurs. But in my experience, much of the time, entrepreneurs have more than one entrepreneurial project going at a time. I found some stats just now that says between 10 and 40% of entrepreneurs are multiple project entrepreneurs. So they might have 2 or 3 startups. I've seen people with more like 5, and then they're just going to see what happens and go with the one that's most successful, which is kind of rational. And it mirrors what a venture capitalist does. So VCs have a more rational model than entrepreneurs because they'll pursue, say, 10 opportunities, knowing that most of them will fail, but 1 or 2, 3 might succeed big, and that'll make up for all their effort. With an entrepreneur, it's harder to do that. One way to do it is to be a serial entrepreneur, to try one company. If it doesn't work, try the next, and so on. And so eventually you've done a good quantity, and 1 or 2 might succeed pretty well. But many entrepreneurs do kind of a hybrid model where they're a little bit like a VC. They have multiple projects going. They have different partners on different projects. Then they see where the traction is and go with that one. So if you're an entrepreneur, and I encourage student entrepreneurs to do this in my office, if you're a student entrepreneur, why not license 2 or 3 technologies, try each of them, put some good effort into each of them, and then over time, you're going to see which of them is gaining traction and go with it. And it might not be the obvious option either. The tech that looks like the biggest opportunity up front might just be really hard to do, or just might not pan out for you. It might not even be the technology or the business opportunity that's a problem. It might be your enthusiasm or your connections or just randomness. There's some randomness in business. And so if you try a few things, you'll kind of gravitate towards the things that actually work. And so I'm thinking of a specific case here where an entrepreneur I know I had set him up with 2 opportunities, and both of them were huge. I felt like he was a really good guy, really skilled, and had already done some pretty entrepreneurial things. And so in one of them, he was with a company that had been limping along and had just never scaled properly. And then with the other one, he was starting from scratch with a technology that seemed fast to market with a huge opportunity. And so he was moving along with each of these for a year or 2. I couldn't have told you which was the bigger opportunity, but it turned out the one that he came into late that had been limping along for a little bit, he productized their technology and made it very scalable, very fast. And so it went big, and they could have gone longer before exiting, but he got a good solid exit, and then is off to his next thing. Actually, he's still working there post acquisition, but that's like a typical story. Many of the entrepreneurs we see have more than one iron in the fire. However, just as a matter of just to account for the chance in business, you should have multiple things going on, different types of investments, kind of a diversification of interest. A lot of successful entrepreneurs will tell you you need to go all in on one thing, and that can work. I mean, in some cases, obsession is the key to success, but uh, many entrepreneurs will say 10 to 40%, I guess, is the stat I threw out there. Many of them increase their odds by having multiple things going at once. So consider that.